This is a new community call that's going to happen every 2 weeks or so, where some of the foundation and trading team, alongside the Reverie team, will come on stage and talk through recent developments, as well as hosting the stage for applicants who have been successful in acquiring grants for the RFPs, which are listed, which is really exciting. So I'll touch on the format today very briefly. TLDR is Reverie will be providing an update about all things grants, discuss the Guernsey Trust and other initiatives, and then talk about how they are evaluating process quality and work. And after this, we've got two amazing grant recipients today who have kindly come on to talk about themselves. One of them is the Chaos Labs team, who have been building a state-of-the-art protocol security platform. They have been awarded a number of grants, which is incredibly exciting for the dYdX ecosystem. And the next is Max Holloway, who most of you know has been in the ecosystem for a while. Max is a really skilled operator who has produced some really meaningful applications so far, so it'll be really good to hear from him. And at this point, we'll ask for some pre-populated questions from the Discord, if there's any, where we'll ask the guests about their projects and the exciting announcements there. And finally, with that, finishing on having talks with Josh, who is one of the core team members at dYdX Foundation and the mastermind behind our delegation program, where he'll touch base on the process here and just the importance of it. And then Alucard.eth, who is our recent community manager, will come on and say a few words about joining dYdX and if there's time, answer any questions from yourselves in the chat. And Alucard has been part of the community now for a long time, really helpful with members and providing a ton of value to us at dYdX and yourselves. So it was only a matter of time before he transitioned to a community manager, and he's really going to help drive the kind of Hedgie initiative and Hedgie narrative and be involved in growing our respective communities at dYdX. So I'll pass over to you, Derek, from the Reverie team, and we can get started.
Thanks, James. Hey, everyone. It's good to be here. As James said, the purpose of this call is really just to talk about all things community, and specifically for us at Reverie to talk a bit about the work we're doing with grants and sort of any ongoing things we're working on from a grants structure perspective, and also to highlight one or two every call, just to highlight some of the most interesting or impactful ones that sort of have been funded. And I think, going forward, we're going to be doing it every 2 weeks now that the program has been live for 6 weeks, and we're starting to see some folks with completed RFPs that people can test out and give feedback on. Carl unfortunately couldn't make the call this week, so I will be doing it. And if you have any questions, we ask that we'll try to answer them at the end of every section. And we ask that you direct all questions to the community discussion channel. So I guess the one of the most common questions we've gotten so far is just sort of what's happening on the legal side. A lot of grantees have been, I think we've confirmed around 40 grants at this point, and we haven't been able to actually make the initial payment because of sort of some offshore legal structuring, specifically with Guernsey, that we're going through. The offshore trust structure will basically allow the program to distribute funds in stablecoins to US holders without a sort of large tax liability for the program itself. And we've shared some of this with you guys already, but just wanted to highlight that for anyone else on the call. Timing wise, I think it's something that we'll hopefully resolve in the next few weeks, but we're actively working on it, and one of our top priorities. The second priority we have is revamping the website. So right now it's all done on a Notion document with the RFPs, the funded grants, and we've been sort of continuing to see adding, but we'll be revamping the website and making it just easier to see some of the things that have been funded and successfully built, so people can try some of the tools out, see some of the content, and just see a bunch of different examples of previously funded things to help inspire new people. And we'll also, just include some of the more specific grantees that have successfully built stuff and are working on sort of longer term projects as well. So I think those are two of the bigger structural sort of initiatives that we're working on. Aside from that, we'll continue to issue grants out on a weekly cadence. That is the goal here, to get sort of back to you guys within 1 week and maintain momentum for everyone interested. And that's sort of the summary from our end. The first 5 batches, in terms of like what people have been working on, it's a mix of tooling for traders, other infrastructure, content, education, some sponsorship opportunities. And most of those grants are still sort of in progress, and folks are working on them. But a handful have started to deliver, and we're starting to see some of the results. So I think with that said, I'll now, I see that Max and Omer are both already on, but I guess now we'll sort of talk about what Max has been working on. And Max, I think like you've been involved in dYdX for a while now, commenting a lot in the Discord, and have received a few different grants and are working on a few different things. So I think, we'd love to hear just a bit more about your background and what you've worked on so far for dYdX.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, about a year ago, I started getting really into crypto and crypto trading, and dYdX is one of the most interesting trading protocols, and they have a lot of interesting, like, unique value adds that I like. So as I got more involved in the community, I saw that there were a lot of places to step in and help out with, for example, in the API channel, helping out other traders that were having issues interacting with the API and stuff like that. And as I got more involved in the community, I just saw that there were a number of components where community members could step up and make contributions. So the first of those was in the dYdX content competition. I guess it was around the end of last year, early this year, in January. And I made a risk website to help people understand how risky it is to trade perpetuals, and to see, like, I come from a bit of a math background, so seeing what the probability of being liquidated was on their positions, depending on how much open interest they had relative to their amount of collateral. So after that, I was really fortunate to be one of the winners of that competition, and from there, I just thought I'd keep the ball rolling and keep contributing to the ecosystem however I could. And the next, as you know, Derek, I applied for RFP4, which was to make an alert tool to help people, get alerts before they're liquidated. And so, I went ahead and delivered on that. And so now it's possible for people to get notifications on Telegram or email or Slack or even Discord whenever their positions are in trouble and need to be, optimally closed out by the user rather than liquidated by the protocol. And my next steps with some of this stuff, I'm currently working on a trader rewards optimization problem. So as many of you may know, we see some wonky behavior near the end of each epoch whenever people are paying a lot in fees in order to, maybe try to maximize their profit from paying fees and kind of gaming the trader rewards mechanism. So thinking through different ways that we can, maybe make modifications to that, or at least ways that we can model what's happening so that we aren't surprised, or that we can make, revenue projections for the dYdX protocol instead of just being super surprised by how much volume that the protocol sees at the end. So those are a couple of the things that I'm working on. And thanks for having me on. I'm happy to talk more about the stuff I'm working on for dYdX.
Super interesting for those interested in trying out the liquidation alert tool. You obviously released it, I think it was about a week ago. And I guess, have you gotten any feedback, or sort of requests from any community members?
Yeah, a little bit. So I one of the design decisions with that tool was to make it so that people could run their own alert tool. Currently, dYdX doesn't have read-only API keys, which makes it a little bit of a makes it so that it's hard for a centralized entity to host something like an alert tool. So some of the feedback has been constructive but negative, right? I'm asking that to be hosted, or maybe it be hosted in a centralized way so that people don't have to run it themselves, and I totally do that. But yeah, so I think maybe next steps for that alert tool would be to, whenever we have read-only API keys, such that you can look at someone's positions on dYdX, but not necessarily place trades or cancel orders or anything with that. As soon as that comes out, I'm optimistic to see, if people enjoy using the tool, to see what next steps there could be in making it even easier and more accessible for people who don't have, maybe a computer science background or a technical background to get those alerts.
Awesome. Yeah, super interesting. I think overall there was a lot of really good feedback on what you worked on. On the rewards optimization side, and I know you're still sort of working on this, but what would be the sort of net benefit for the protocol as a whole at the end of the research? Like, what is the sort of intention?
Yeah. So there are a couple of goals. One is if there is so as you said, I'm still working on it, so I haven't completely ironed out all the recommendations. If in those recommendations, we find that maybe it would be nice to have some modifications to that trigger rewards mechanism. Some of the net benefits for the protocol would be being able to predict revenue for the epic. What we currently see is the amount of fees paid for the epic are very tightly correlated with the price of the dYdX token at the end of the epic, and that's just not great for a number of reasons. It makes it almost impossible to predict how much the protocol is going to make in trading fees at the beginning of the month. That's one thing that would be a net benefit. Would be able to kind of know or have some more knowledge of what's going to happen with how much trading fees are going to be paid. Another thing is making it so that anyone can receive you don't have to be gaming the system in order to get your fair share, I guess, of the dYdX rewards. That's something that you see right now is the people who make the most profit from it are not necessarily organic traders or long-term traders that the dYdX protocol is aiming to incentivize to come on through this rewards mechanism. The people who are making the most are the people who are trying to just profit from from gaming the mechanism. So one of the benefits from this research should be finding a way that we can reward just organic trading as opposed to rewarding gaming.
Totally makes sense, and yeah, I think that kind of research would be super interesting and valuable for the protocol.
And just one more thing to add on there. Even if the protocol made no changes, so another component of this research is we're also showing people exactly how they could optimize, to maximize profit from this mechanism, which may sound a little bit unintuitive, right? Like the problem is that people are gaming the system, but if you're able to show everyone how to maximize their profits through this, then it actually does become more equitable and more accessible through more traders. So that even people who didn't want to put in the hours to come up with the solution to this optimization problem, just giving them the solution should make it so that there are fewer people just profiting from gaming the rewards mechanism.
Open sourcing the solution as well as with recommendations on how to change it going forward.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a two-part grant.
Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions for Max? I don't see any in the community discussion, so I'm assuming no.
Yeah, I don't think there's any been posted. Max, just one from me. Is it you just working on this grant, or have you got a team behind you as well?
Yes, there are a couple of us. It's just me and one other person working on this. Yeah.
Awesome. No, that's great. Cool. Derek, over to you again then. If there's any questions that come in for Max, we can always bring it up again at the end of the event of this AMA.
So now we'll turn it over to Chaos, who is another grantee that has received a few of them and are working on some really awesome stuff. I see that Omer and Yonatan from the Chaos Labs team are on this call. And yeah, do you guys want to give a bit of background about yourselves and what Chaos is and sort of what you guys are actively working on from the grant side?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having us. So my name is Omer. I've been working on Chaos Labs for the past year. Previous to that, I spent the past 4 years at Facebook, Instagram, and Internet.org. Internet.org mostly working in building internet infrastructure in India and Africa. Facebook working on video infrastructure, and Instagram on infrastructure related to ads on feed and stories. And really, Chaos Labs at its core is a cloud platform that allows DeFi protocols to run agent and scenario-based simulations to test kind of the robustness and performance of the protocol under volatile market conditions, adversarial interactions, and so on and so forth. In the context of the grants, well, I'll let Yonatan kind of give his intro, and then I'll kind of speak about what we're doing with dYdX. So I'll hand it off to Yonatan.
Hey, so I'm Yonatan. I've been working at Chaos Labs for about 8 months now. Like Omer, I worked with him at Facebook on the Internet.org project for about 4 years. And before that, I was at Apple, mostly building infrastructure for in-house use. And I ended up to Omer to explain more about Chaos Labs.
Yeah, so like we said, generally it's a cloud platform that allows for agent-based simulations to test performance. With dYdX, as the grants program opened, we saw it as a really good opportunity to partner with one of the more serious protocols in the space. The kind of initial grants that we've picked up were a publicly hosted page for perpetual funding rates, which is nearly completed and should be launched next week. We've also built a dYdX trading CLI tool that basically utilizes all of the public and private methods available through the documentation in a command line format. Lastly, the next one that we're working on from this batch is a calculator to enable, I guess, more transparency around trading rewards. So in the same space that Max discussed, also might be worth for us to connect after the call and see if we can share some of the efforts. But this last grant is focused around basically building a calculator that allows people to play with the different parameters and see how much rewards they can expect towards the end of each epoch. That's been most of the work so far. Moving forward, we want to kind of increase the capacity in which we're involved with dYdX, and the areas which we're excited to contribute around are obviously anything that's simulation related, analytics, risk analysis, and specifically infrastructure. So those are the areas that we're excited about.
Omer, can you talk a little bit about what agent-based simulation even is and how you guys use that to do the work that you guys do?
Yeah. So just like taking a step back, and just giving a little bit color. So most of the team, we're about 13 now. Everybody comes from a very heavy kind of quantitative, but also security and infrastructure related background, being ex-Israeli cyber intelligence, and then just a bunch of folks we worked with together at Facebook and Microsoft. So that's kind of the specialization of the team. And when we started getting into crypto, we actually started from something else. We were building our own protocol. And before we were launching, we were looking at what kind of tools existed to secure the protocol. And really, we saw that the only thing in the space was audits, which kind of failed to address kind of the core risks around deploying a protocol. When we're looking today, like in a macro view of security in DeFi, so it's usually less today that there are like specific bugs in your contracts when you deploy them. It's more systemic risk which is introduced. So kind of like a lot of these protocols consume other protocols in the form of like dependencies or a way to extend the functionality of their core protocol offering. And oftentimes you see that developers don't fully anticipate the ways that people can interface with their protocols. We realized that audits and formal verification don't cover this, and we really wanted to focus on runtime verification as a solution for this. And the best way to really bootstrap all the different types of interactions you can do with a protocol is with agent-based simulations. So what is an agent-based simulation? An agent is just like what it sounds like. It's the ability to mock any type of user behavior. So if you were a protocol who was using something like this, you can imagine one agent could be very simple. It could mock exactly the expected behavior of a user as he interacts with your protocol. But then you could also have a malicious agent, or an agent that takes a ton of leverage. So imagine that you're like Aave or Maker, and now we can basically create an agent for you that opens up many vaults, basically at the maximum leverage that they can before being eligible for liquidation. So you can basically model all these different types of agents, run them basically in parallel, and to get an idea of what your protocol will perform like under different market conditions. And that's kind of the explanation for agents. The other thing that we offer is scenario-based simulations. And this is some of the stuff that's already public that we collaborate with other protocols like Chainlink and more recently Uniswap and several others. We're also building tools that allow us to manipulate the state of protocols and state of the blockchain in the context of the simulation. So for example, one scenario which we can run is controlling the return value of Chainlink oracles. And if I go back to the example of liquidations, this is really important because as a lending protocol, the most important thing is to make sure that you stay solvent across all markets. So now with our simulations that basically control the return value of the price feeds, we can lower the price of assets, make basically CDPs eligible for liquidation, and then test that all the liquidation and auction mechanisms for the different lending protocols work as expected. So together with agents and scenarios, those are the type of simulations that we offer, and kind of like the use case is, either testing against black swan events or understanding how decisions around parameter modifications for protocol will play out under different market conditions.
Super clear explanation. And yeah, I think sort of your example of the lending and borrowing protocols, it's sort of immediately clear, like the potential risks and black swan events, like what happened with MakerDAO in March 2020, where the price of crypto just went down like super quickly, and the protocol ended up having a huge shortfall. With decentralized derivatives trading platforms like dYdX, there's also a few different parameters, some of which we've talked about already, but and it's something we've talked about between grants and UMR, but what are some of the other parameters or future things that you think what Chaos is doing can be applied for?
So I think for dYdX, there's several different items where kind of risk analysis and simulations can become useful. I think that as the protocol basically continues down the path of decentralization and making it as open as possible, one thing that's possible to look at is as kind of market makers and who's eligible for being a market maker. So today we have some of the best ones in the space that control a lot of capital. But ideally, I think in the future, we'd like to kind of lower the threshold for being able to do that and opening up the protocol to newer market makers, maybe smaller ones to participate. Now, in order to do that, something that's crucial is looking at market makers' kind of on-chain history as it pertains to kind of repaying loaned capital. And then also trying to assess the risk of what happens if they don't pay back the loan on time. Where these loans are coming from liquidity pools that they have access to. So that's one thing. There's a lot of work to be done there. I think it's really important moving forward that the community understands how decisions are made around who's kind of privy and able to participate as a market maker. And the same thing goes for listing new type of assets onto the protocol. So every asset comes with its own set of risks. Ideally, before a decision is made about adding new assets to dYdX, it goes through kind of a uniform process, and also being able to provide transparency around whether or why an asset was added or not, and basically look at all the parameters that are being factored into the decision. And in that space, there are many, whether it's legal or it's things that are more kind of quantitative. like volume, liquidity, volatility of an asset over time. But just being able to have one place to view all these things, I think, is something that will greatly kind of contribute to the transparency of the protocol moving forward.
Awesome. Yeah, really excited to see more of what you guys are working on over the coming weeks. Does anyone else have any questions or thoughts for you Chaos guys? If not, I think we can turn it back over to James I think we have a few speakers scheduled.
Brilliant. All right, fantastic. Thanks, Chaos. That was brilliant. I think the kind of asset listing is going to be huge, especially for the community who kind of always querying whether new assets can be listed in sort of in a speedy time frame. So that's going to be great. And
hey James, can I ask a quick question for both Max and Chaos team? I guess both of you have decided to work on like multiple grants, which is really awesome. Just for other people in the audience who are considering potentially applying for grants, like how did you go about kind of picking which RFP to work on and which ones to prioritize first? Any advice you could share with other audience members there?
I can share like our approach, and it's just general for when we kind of start working with any new DAO. So I think initially we will look for like, first of all, like any type of working relationship around the DAO is primarily, it's based around just like reputation and kind of building trust. So I think like a really kind of soft landing for any new type of like working relationship is going for the lower hanging fruit, I would say, that the protocol finds valuable, and basically picking things that in parallel require kind of more effort. And this basically creates a scenario in which you're creating a track record for delivering, and then also kind of increasing your appetite for harder things. It will take longer, but you'll also have more community more support from the core community members as you do that. So that's been our approach so far, and it's been working nicely. We've met a lot of great people and built a lot of great relationships that way.
Yeah, I'd like to also just add on to that. I agree with that statement. I would also say for me, I made a pretty simple, search. The way I decided on which RFPs to apply for was pretty simple. It was like, what's the intersection of my core competencies and what really needs to be done, or what I think really needs to be done? And, whenever you just consider those two, components, it was pretty easy for me to narrow down which RFPs were relevant for me to work on, considering my background more in math and computer science.
Brilliant. Okay, awesome. Let's hand over to Josh. Again, Josh is one of our core team members at the foundation who has really spearheaded the launch of our delegation program and has managed to successfully onboard a number of them. So, Josh, over to you.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah?
Yeah, we got you all good.
Yeah, sorry, I was having a little bit of issues at the beginning. First of all, thanks so much, Derek, Chaos Labs team, and Max for joining in today. Super helpful, I think, just to get insights from all of you. So, talking quickly just about the delegation program, super excited to get this going. MX is actually in the audience right now. Super, super happy to have you part of the team. The delegation program is basically built up off of some comparable programs. So basically what we're trying to do here is just get proposing power and voting power into the hands of the dYdX community. And as we approach V4, delegates are going to be extremely important to ensure community-led growth, development, and the self-sustainability of the protocol. So if you're interested in becoming a delegate, I would encourage you to DM me or reach out in Discord.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Josh. That's really helpful. And then lastly, I think let's hear a little bit from Alucard.eth, who has recently joined us as a community manager. As I said at the start, he's been in and around the ecosystem for a long time. He's got a wealth of knowledge with all things DeFi, NFTs, and trading broadly. So we're thrilled to have him on board. Alucard, over to you.
Hey everybody. Awesome hearing from everybody today. Honestly, it's super exciting seeing what everybody's working on, and it's just blows my mind that there's such an active involvement and everybody's contributing in so many ways. A little bit about myself. I've been in crypto for a long time, since 2012. I've gone anywhere from DeFi to massive NFT communities, and I'm very excited to get started as a community manager here at dYdX for Canada, and look to grow the Hedgies community, and look to really create unity within the dYdX community, and push forward, and to make sure that everybody knows that we're here, and everybody knows the awesome stuff that everyone's working on here, and we can share that with the rest of the space, and grow organically and in the best way possible. So
that's awesome. And just briefly, kind of like touching on a few ways that you really feel that sort of the NFT community as well as kind of the DeFi community can grow alongside the Hedgies. I mean, I know we talked about this the other day in the kind of Hedgies meeting, but could you just touch on a few points where you really feel would be the most valuable?
Yeah. So what I found is that a lot of people coming into the space right now are really coming from the NFT side. They have no real knowledge of DeFi and sort of that side, but they're in a way natural traders as well, because they spend a lot of their time just sort of trading and trading NFTs and sort of going in that side. So they came in through NFTs because they got introduced to some community, and now they're really curious. This is the same sort of people that, how we all started at some point in crypto. We sort of start at the top and then go down the rabbit hole, and then we start figuring everything out. But I just feel there's a massive amount of untapped potential, where we can really look to bring in a lot of users that started in NFTs and are now exploring sort of DeFi and this ecosystem, and sort of create that synergy between those communities, and show them the tools, show them what dYdX is all about, and what Hedgies is all about as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Alucard. That's brilliant. And then I guess finally, Derek, shall we open up the floor just for anyone in the audience who wants to come up on the stage and ask any questions? Or means if you... Oh, sorry, Josh.
I have an open question, Derek, for you. Maybe super helpful just to touch on like best practices for kind of interacting with the grants program and like pursuing an RFP. Might be super helpful to touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you're interested in working on something and you're not sure what exactly, the first thing I would do is going just straight to the website and looking at two things: the list of outstanding RFPs. So this is just about, I think it's around 30 now, of different things that people can work on, and they range from like development tooling to trading tools to education to content to research. So there's a bunch of different categories. It's not an exhaustive list. Like, people are very welcome to apply for anything that they are interested in and think would be useful. So the other thing would be to look at a list of the grants that have been accepted. And we've shared a bit more detail about sort of the grants on that page. I'm going to continue to add more over the next few weeks as well. But hopefully that should also give you guys a bit more context on the types of things that we're looking for, and the backgrounds and sort of skill sets that we're looking for as well for the areas that they've been working on. And if you guys are thinking through these things and have something specifically that pops in mind, I think you should just go ahead and submit an application. If there's things that you guys would like to a bit more clarity on, or want to scope out, or just are unsure, the easiest thing is just to message myself or Carl in the Discord, and we can just provide some quick feedback and thoughts on what you're doing. In general, though, if you submit something over the application, like we will get back to you over email with some few clarifying questions and help you scope it out anyways. So yeah, I think that's sort of the workflow from the grantee perspective.
Thanks so much for going over that. I think you guys have done a fantastic job so far, and yeah, definitely looking forward to see what's to come. Sorry for interrupting, James. Over to you.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, so anyone else in the audience want to come up on stage and ask a question? I think whilst people have a think, I will say that what Max said is super important, isn't that? Kind of trying to find, if you really want to apply for a grant and provide value to the dYdX ecosystem, having something that sits in that intersection between your skill set and either the RFPs that are listed or something that you feel that dYdX can benefit from, then I think I would double down on your skill set there. I mean, the two that are Max and the Chaos Labs team on stage here are, extremely proficient in the kind of risk analysis and analytics side of things. But if you guys feel that you can provide value from a marketing standpoint, a media standpoint, or any of the RFPs that are listed, then by all means, just reach out and you can have questions there. I can see Brian has here.
The other thing I just thought of and I'd add is, like, it's just, I would think of it as similar to building a startup, which is like, what are the problems that I run into when I'm trying to use dYdX? Like, if I am using dYdX or trying to learn about it or trying to, like, what would I improve or sort of what do I wish existed? So I think, like, get inspiration from using the product and asking other people in the community, like, what their pain points are or what they wish existed. And yeah, like if you realize that, then it's just easy to go out and try and do it, whether it's like a piece of education, a piece of content, or a tool. So I think that's just another piece of advice.
I would also add, if anybody's unsure, or they have a specific idea in mind, like, feel more than welcome to just throw it in the Discord and start brainstorming with other people. I'm always open to listen to ideas and sort of help execute them. And then you can follow up with an application afterwards. So there's no pressure to have like the whole idea together from the start. You can really brainstorm with the community and get feedback that way. And I think that's super important.
Thank you so much. My question goes to the grants committee. I was applying to asking if among the RFPs, if there is something like with community growth, maybe can be maybe like the African channel whereby we can have the Telegram group, Twitter page for us, specifically for dYdX, creating awareness and spreading that awareness in the region, and growing the community organically through organizing events, doing Twitter spaces, in continuous engagements in Telegram and on Twitter as well. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think in general, international growth is super important for dYdX as a protocol. I think there's users all over the world, and a big range of countries and continents. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't catch if you said you had already submitted an application or if you hadn't, but it's definitely something that we're happy to take a look at.
Yeah, and Brian, I'll just also touch on that. I mean, that's something that we're thinking about a lot of the time, just trying to come up with solutions and ideas to how we can grow in these international communities. So if you've got any ideas, like you've said, sort of like starting a Telegram group, starting your own Twitter, something that we have official and unofficial channels, then feel free as well just to reach out to me and we can chat as well. Cool. Any other questions from anyone in the audience here?
Sorry, coming in with a last minute curveball for Derek. But Derek, I know the Reverie team published a broader vision statement for the grants program in a detailed blog post. So hoping maybe you could provide an overview of that and kind of what you hope to achieve with the grants committee and the grants program, and where do you see kind of all of these efforts leading to in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yep, happy to go into that. So what Dave was referring to is a blog post that we at Reverie wrote a few weeks back. I'll just post it in the community discussion channel now. But it really just goes into sort of the goal and intention of the program in the short term, medium term, and the long term. And I think ultimately, like, the long term vision for, I think, dYdX as a protocol is to be a self-sustaining project that is built by and contributed by the community, and anyone around the world can help make like big contributions and supplement like all this existing work that's been done. I think this is especially true after like V4, which is the core team was trading is working on. But I think sort of initially the goal of this grants program is to find people that have the skill sets and passion to be these long-term contributors, and really give them the tools to start working more and more on dYdX. At the same time, they'll learn more about it, they'll learn the strengths and weaknesses, and they'll just also get more skin in the game to contribute. And for the people that are able to deliver on the grants and do a good job, there's a lot of other things and ideas that I think we have, and I'm sure the community has on what people could do, like treasury management or asset listing or risk analysis or marketing and growth. Really a lot of the same functions that a protocol that's trying to proactively grow market share will need. The only difference with the startup, traditional startup, is that anyone from the community can sort of actively go after these sort of opportunities. And I think of grants as just the simplest and easiest way for someone to prove themselves to the community, because ultimately that's who's going to be using the tools that you guys build and judging the quality of your output. Like Reverie, we can help sort of diligence these people trying to find grantees, and evaluate how good their product is. But ultimately, it's going to be up to token holders' decisions. Like in the long term, like who are the long-term sort of contributors that will make dYdX like the largest decentralized exchange in the world. So that's how we think about it. Just to give you guys a little bit of an idea, I think there's just a lot of a big opportunity for people that are able to commit.
Okay, Brill. Let's finish here. Thanks for everyone tuning in today. Thanks, Derek, for coming on and being completely transparent with the process. I think it really helps break down some of the barriers and some of the worries that people have about applying and thinking that they're potentially skilled enough or can provide enough value. So that's really helpful. And thanks to Chaos Labs team and Max for your time. It's really incredible to see all that you guys are working on and kind of the progress that you've been made so far. And I guess we really look forward to hearing more about your progress soon. Maybe host another one of these in a few months' time. And then Alucard and Josh, thanks for coming on and just touching base with regards to what you guys are focusing on recently. And yeah, I guess what will happen from now is I'll finish this off. I'll upload it to YouTube, hopefully be available by probably the start of next week. People can come on, have a listen to it, and ask any questions, post this if required. If any of you want to reach out, then by all means, shoot me a DM or post anything into the Discord or anyone on the stage today. I'm sure they'll be more than willing to help. Anything else, Derek, to finish off on?
Nothing from my end. Yeah, if there's anything else that you guys want to see on these calls or any grantees in particular that you want to hear from, just reach out to us and we'll make it happen.
James, do you just want to remind everybody what the cadences for the AMAs and follow-up calls and everything?
Yeah, so I guess this sort of dYdX grants program specific calls, they'll hopefully happen every 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to aim to do them every 2 weeks. And then, we'll do the similar sort of format to what we're doing now, kind of just an introduction at the start and then bring on a few applicants to the calls. There are a few others in the week, like there's just like a Hedgie Hangouts call for anyone really interested in the Hedgies and just wants to build a relationship with each other and kind of razz some ideas around how we can push this Hedgie narrative forward. And I can see that there's a grant actually that's just come up for that, which is fantastic. And then there'll be kind of other AMA and open calls that we'll probably host on Twitter Spaces as well.